Yo guys, how's it going? It is me, the creator of the Back to School series, Cheryl's YouTube. And at this point, I have a total of 19 canon Back to School videos. While most of them seem pretty straightforward, the finale of Season 3 may have left some people confused. So for this video, I'm going to quickly go over the entire series so far, Season 1, 2, and 3. But I'm mostly going to discuss a lot in the final season, as that's when it gets a little bit more complicated. I'm also going to be answering some questions about the final Back to School that, of course, no one asked, but I feel need to be said. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you see more Back to School videos. Season 4 is starting very, very soon.
It's time to give me an education! Wow!
Our story begins with a poorly drawn version of my YouTube profile. Coming out of his house, driving to school, getting ready to get his edumacation, as he calls it. But then he's let down to see that all he gets is a notebook, expecting that it will give him some knowledge, but it's just a bunch of math problems, similar to how our school works today. But being the genius as he is, he's able to manage to solve the math problem and go show it to the teacher that he has completed it. This is when the current antagonist gets introduced, Teacher. And Teacher says that he did get the question right, but he didn't do it the way that she said that they were supposed to do it in class, which means that he failed the assignment. An understandable person would realize how rigged this is. And did Charles get mad? Yes, he did get mad. In fact, he got so mad that he punched his teacher. This is when Teacher revealed her other side. She went crazy and got so angry that she sent Charles to the principal's office. This is where we meet Prince Paul, and as he is a much loved character, we don't know much about him yet. All we know at this point is that he expels Charles and kicks him out of the school. So he miserably takes his stuff and just goes back home. But he wasn't gonna give up that easily. And that's the start of Season 2. When Season 2 begins, Charles decides to go back to school, except this time he will be
En secreto.
so secret that he won't even take his favorite car. He puts on a mask that specifically says that he is not Charles from YouTube, and he fools the principal himself. Or does he?
Oh, I get it, you're trying to sneak in and you don't want me to know. Okay, I gotcha, carry on.
He's well aware, but he lets him go on. Why is that? Well, there's really nothing in the shows that can tell you that yet. Principal takes Charles around the school to give him a tour since, of course, he is a new student. But then they come across Teacher's room. Being terrified of Teacher, of course, he flees and runs to the gym, which was shown to him earlier. This is where we're introduced to Couch, the gym coach. And he makes Charles run laps, and he gets so exhausted that he has to take off his mask. Teacher, who has been watching Charles, ordered by Prince Paul, immediately notices. Charles steals Couch's rolly chair and he rides down the hall, making a very iconic moment in Back to School history. With the pressure of Teacher chasing him, he crashes into a wall, but he does manage to get into the cafeteria without Teacher noticing. While hiding under the cafeteria tables in fear, he meets a bully named Henro. Being the big bad bully that he is, he raises Charles up and humiliates him in front of all the people in the cafeteria, and of course, Teacher notices. Teacher has returned and is ready to take Charles back to Prince Paul's office. But then out comes Henro out of absolutely nowhere and punches Teacher in the face for the second time. Teacher flees with the edumacation, and Henro decides to join allies with Charles, as Charles wants an edumacation, and Henro, after being mistreated by teachers, wants to pay them back by taking over the entire school. So then they decide on their first victim, and that will be Couch. As a team, Cheryl and Henro both approach Couch. They enter the gym as they see Couch insulting a kid, saying that his grandma can run faster than them. Henro decides to trash talk Couch about his grandma, as he wants to look cool. Couch takes this very literally and uses his whistle and actually calls upon his grandma. Of course, he's very scared of this grandma. This was the last effort to get Henro and Charles away from him. Cause I mean, he didn't have his rolly chair, so he couldn't get away. But this is when we meet the character that seems like the most kindest on the outside, yet the most evil on the inside. Grandma. Grandma does a stereotypical grandma move and sends Couch away to his room. And then she does another stereotypical grandma move and forces Henro and Charles to be separated. Grandma takes Charles to her house. Is that even legal? I have no idea. Then we're left with a small scene at the end with Henro clenching his fist. Is he gonna save Charles? We don't know. But that is the start of season 3. Charles wakes up to find himself in Grandma's basement. After finding the exit, he stupidly walks back in the house because he got lured back in from the smell of those delicious cookies. Man, those are so good. That's when Grandma makes another appearance and locks Charles into her house from the inside. This is a part in the story where there is another character that is quickly brought up. His name is the one and the only Daniel. Now the reason why Dan's in this is because he's really the character that can somewhat reason. There needs to be like a storyline in the story, and he's the one that usually comes up with like all the plans. Oh yeah, and there's also Nowan who has no significance in the story yet. Daniel and Nowan both go to pick up Charles from Grandma's house, but there is one problem.
I can't drive.
With just their luck, they end up crashing into the school. But then out comes Henro. But Henro quickly becomes friends with Dan as he knows him from the famous YouTube. But then he quickly takes the car and starts driving like crazy with Dan and Nowan in the back. But he crashes into something too, and something very powerful had to have stopped that car. And what is that?
That durable thing is my bones, you little boy!
And this is when a very slow chase scene starts, as they realize that Grandma's weakness is that she runs slow, despite Couch saying Grandma can run faster than the athletes. So they can outrun Grandma, but when Henro tries to open the door, it won't work. And while trying to open the door, they turn around to see that Grandma has gotten into the car and is now driving straight towards them. Now Grandma's moving pretty fast, but Henro, oh Henro, he stops the car with his fist, lifts up Grandma and takes her out of it, then drives in the car and punches her while inside the car, sending her flying onto the door with her very strong bones and then falling down onto the ground and... But despite Grandma's strong bones hitting the door, it still wouldn't open. Dan really thought there was just no hope. But then all of a sudden... Hello? Charles comes out saying that turns out the entire time he was just turning the knob the wrong way when trying to get out. Which I don't know if that's believable considering usually doors open either way when you turn the knob. But I'll take his word for it. After that, they were gonna go back to their normal schools. But then somebody crashed the party. Teacher came in, demanding a fight with Henro. Henro figured, well, all of us are here, so we might as well fight. But then teacher stops him when she sees Grandma's grave. She was so surprised that they killed Grandma, so she fled. Henro saw this as a weakness and told Charles that he needs to go and help him catch up to her. But Charles was kind of scared? Daniel assumes Charles is scared because of teacher, and you know, before he was pretty scared of teacher. That's when Daniel realizes that both him and Nowan, their school starts tomorrow, and you can get an education in a single day if you're smart enough. Since that seems like a much better plan for Charles, him and Henro decide to depart, with Charles going to the new school to continue his goal of getting education, and Henro to continue his goal of taking over the school. So really, Grandma is gone, but in the end, they all got separated anyway. That's not all. At the end of the video, you hear teacher and Principal talking to each other, with Principal asking,
Did the students take the bait?
Teacher saying that Henro did, but she has a keyword.
An alternative plan for the rest of them, to say the least.
The final episode was kind of confusing, so I'm going to answer a couple questions that you may have been wondering just to wrap up this video. Why was Charles scared? Well, seeing like in season 2, he already refused to go into the algebra room because he was scared that teacher was in there. But then again with Henro as well, who could have beat up teacher, Henro kind of sneak attacked, and he hasn't really seen what Charles has seen that teacher can do. And it's also not right to assume that Charles was scared. Sure, that is what he looks like when he was scared, But really, if you think about it, there is a lot that could have been considered in that situation. With a different school, it could be a lot more safe, and other schools still give out edumacations, so it's probably right for Charles to go to that other school. Why is teacher luring him back? This would be a question that I was asked if people know that teacher has been trying to keep Charles away from the edumacation. But if you think about it, in season 1 episode 2, teacher is clearly teaching Charles and letting this happen. So she likes to play fairly. It seems that teacher does like teaching and she wants Charles to come back so she can teach him, because that's kind of her job. Prince Paul, on the other hand, agreeing with this despite being limited on educations, as far as we know there's only one in the school. But we don't quite know why yet that Prince Paul wants Charles back. Of course I do, but I'm not going to tell you yet. It'll only be revealed many seasons ahead. What is teacher and Prince Paul's alternative plan? Well, you see, I'm not gonna tell you that either. That's kind of the cool thing about like not knowing yet, is so you can figure out later from like it's like suspense and stuff. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I just have one more question I'd like to go over, and that question is like, I mean, so many people have been asking me this, so I mean, be ready, because I'm not gonna answer you this anymore. So the question really is, why is Daniel so short? And like, I mean, I don't even know. Nobody knows. So please stop asking me.